So we stay with news around Phala Phala because, as I'm sure you know by now, Ramaphosa is taking the panel's report on legal review. Yeah, so he's set to lodge his application on an urgent basis at the Constitutional Court today. Newzroom Afrika's Erin is live from the Apex Court this morning for more. Erin, good morning. What would be the basis of Ramaphosa tackling this report?
So the President and his legal team have been scrutinizing that report to find any weak spots, and it's understood that they're going to approach it in terms of arguing that the panel went beyond its proper scope, and also that it included information and considered matters which weren't actually put forward to the President for right of reply. You'll notice if you go through the report just before the conclusion around him may have broken the law, may have breached his oath of office, may have exposed himself to a conflict of interest. In the section before that, it goes into the issue of the pursuit of the alleged Phala Phala gang, the suspects who took those US dollars cash from the sofa into Namibia. And one of the arguments from a very well-placed source I spoke to yesterday may be that that was entirely off the table in terms of the original complaint lodged by the ATM. Now, important just to note, of course, we've just heard from Zianda earlier at Nasrec, the issue of a motion of no confidence is different from a Section 89 process because the provisions under Section 89 mean it's only the President under scrutiny. So an anonymous vote, a secret vote on tabling this report and moving forward with that ad hoc committee would really leave members of Cabinet and the ANC who under a motion of no confidence would have skin in the game, you know, their own necks on the chopping block, scot-free. And so the question really is whether or not the ANC NEC will consolidate around the President and ensure that that report and its recommendations and conclusion doesn't move forward. And if, Michelle, we do have that urgent application filed today, which I understand is in the works, it is in the pipeline, if not by close of business into the early evening, it may well put the ANC caucus in a position to argue, if it is consolidated backing Ramaphosa, that there's simply no reason to move forward at this stage. It could be premature.
Yeah, so that was my next question to you, Erin, because there are so many moving parts to the story, right? There's the NEC meeting, which is taking place today. It was the National Working Committee meeting over the weekend. There is this urgent application being lodged with the Constitutional Court as well. How do we, just tell us again, how do we see all of these things impacting that special hybrid sitting in Parliament?
Well, certainly those in the ANC caucus who are on side with the President are likely to argue that this legal review puts things in such a position that to move forward with the vote would be premature. It would not be prudent to do so. And already, even before we had news of this urgent application to the Apex Court, which in this case would then be the court of first instance, and that's just a fancy way of saying the first court you go to when you have a problem, to hear this matter. It's also the court of last instance, which means it's a bit of a high-stakes gamble. If you lose, if the President, in fact, cannot persuade the full bench of the Constitutional Court, if it hears his case that the panel erred, that's the end of the road for him. And we've seen how that can put politicians in a pickle before with the likes of former President Jacob Zuma. So, yes, there are all these moving parts. The prospect of a review may well add wind to the sails of those who don't want to see this impeachment process move forward. But speaking to the likes of Floyd Shivambu of the EFF over the weekend, it sounds like opposition parties have really agreed that they want to move forward with this matter. Of course, we heard again from Zianda that you'd need about a third of the ANC caucus to back opposition parties in wanting to move forward for that impeachment process to go anywhere. And Michelle, you know, as I stand here with the flame of democracy behind me, it was lit in Qunu when former President Nelson Mandela was still alive. We know that he, of course, saw Cyril Ramaphosa as effectively his heir apparent. He's played a long game, Ramaphosa, in terms of reaching the head of government, now facing corruption allegations. At the same time, he's insisting there's momentum building to fight corruption and against the state capture era. And if you depersonalize it just for a moment, it is remarkable to think that the first time Section 89 of the Constitution and its rules and a panel established in terms of that section works, operates, moves forward, we're seeing a challenge from the head of state to the highest court in the country. Remarkable times.
Yeah, absolutely. More remarkable as we today commemorate 9 years since Madiba's passing as well. Erin Bates, live to us there at the Constitutional Court. Thanks very much indeed.